everyone, this is Sian, Archer and Olive Ambassador, also known as @PerceiveGrace, both on YouTube and Instagram. Today I have for you 3 extremely essential and functional reading journal spreads that I recommend you add to your yearly reading journal setup for 2024 or any year thereafter. There will also be a corresponding blog link in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. As far as materials go for today, you will want to have your Archer and Olive bullet journal. This is an A5 size bullet journal, but I also recommend the B5 size. You may also need a scissors if you plan to utilize Dutch swords like I did for one of the spreads. And you'll want to grab your favorite pens. These are a part of the Jewel Acrylograph collection from Archer and Olive in 0.7mm. Also grab any black fine liner of your choice. I did pre-sketch all of my spreads out ahead of time, so grab a ruler and a pencil if you want to do that as well. Last but not least, however you want to decorate these spreads is totally up to you. I'm going to keep it simple and just use old book pages. If you don't feel like harming any books today, you can just use stickers, doodles, or washi tape. Alright everyone, let's get started. The very first extremely essential and functional spread I highly recommend for your reading journal yearly setup is a reading goal tracker spread. So I set a goal for this past year to read 100 books in 1 year. That did work well for me. This could be 50 books, this could be 25 books, 75 books, 10 books, whatever works well for you. But we love our habit trackers, right? So I think having the equivalent for a reading goal tracker is super fun and very functional, and it's always satisfying to fill those boxes as you complete a book. You can also switch this up a little bit by leaving some room to enter which book was your first book, your second book, your third book, and so on and so forth. Or you can leave it more like habit tracker type check off thing like I did here, which is just a simpler way to do that. I have a header in the upper left. I am just alternating the colors that I'm using here for the blocked letters. And then on the right, I do have 3 boxes as well for some reading goals. You can make a separate entire spread for reading goals depending on how much you have. I find that other than just how many books I want to read that year, the reading goals are going to be pretty simple and low stress. Like maybe one of your reading goals is to read more on your Kindle, or to set a haul limit for yourself as far as the books you buy each month. Or maybe one of your goals is to read more of a certain genre or type of book. So you can put that there as well. Other than that, I left room at the bottom to put my book pages. You could fill that space with washi tape or doodles or lettering. I do like to fill empty spaces with lettering as well. So you'll also see towards the bottom on the right hand side, I have a little fun bookish quote that says just one more chapter, something like that. I think that's always a fun way to fill space as well. I am not that great at drawing, so that's why I try to find these extra ways to fill the space. You could of course leave the white space as well. That's totally a vibe too. But other than that, that is what this spread is all about, and I highly recommend it. This is a spread I would probably put after my yearly cover page if you do want to have one of those. I'm a big fan of always having like maybe a quote page or a cover page to start the year or start the month or whatever, and then this would be a spread that would be right after that cover page. And you could turn this into a monthly spread as well. As far as like your TBR is concerned or how many books you want to read that month, there's a lot of ways to switch this up, but I think something like a tracker is always functional and super essential. And here you can see me ripping the book pages just in a way that I think works well for the spread. Definitely more scrapbook style, going for that torn pages look. I also want to note that while I do have double-sided tape and use that often, I decided to just use a regular glue stick for this, as the book pages were very thin and the double-sided tape was just kind of ripping the pages up when I would apply it, and so a glue stick was just working a lot better for that. Moving on to the next functional reading journal spread that I highly recommend for your yearly setup is a reading stats page. There are so many different ways to set this up. I am definitely more of a table girly. I've seen like the pie chart style and other things like that. This works a lot better for me, but just know that there are a lot of ways to do this. And so here's my header at the top using the same style from the previous spread. In the table, we have the 12 months on the left with a total row at the bottom as well. And then across the top, I decided on a few columns that worked really well for me. So I'll be tracking how many books I read each month. I'll be tracking how many pages I read each month. I'll be tracking my 5-star reads for each month. I'll also be tracking how many books I did not finish, decided to put down. I'll be tracking how many books I might hauls, and then also I want to track how many advanced reader copies I signed up to read and review. And then lastly, on the far right with the larger rows there, the larger boxes, I'll have some room to kind of record my reading month summary. So that could be something like, I had a great reading month, or this was not the best reading month, I had, a couple book slumps or something, or maybe I reviewed 5 advanced reader copies and liked them all, or something like that. So just a little place to jot down a quick summary about my month in review for that reading month. And then at the top on the upper right, you see that I just added another fun bookish saying, just bookish things, to fill more white space, and I'm applying my torn book pages at the bottom like I did for the previous spread. Turning the page to create the third and final essential and functional spread I recommend for your yearly reading journal setup is a new releases spread, which is basically the future log version for your reading journal. If you're familiar with or like to create a future log for your bullet journal planner each year, this is like that, but for your reading journal. It's a spot to jot down new releases that pop up throughout the year that you're interested in. We don't always know what those dates are at the beginning of every year, but you might be interested in a book and you're waiting to hear what that date is, things like that. This is a place to record that throughout the year. At the bottom, you'll see that I added space for the 4 quarters of the year as well, where I can kind of decide what 3 from each quarter of the new releases are my most highly anticipated, which I lettered at the bottom there below. And then this is a Dutch door spread, so you'll see January through April in front of you, but know that on the other side of March and April, we do get the rest of the months. I didn't show it just because it was a little redundant, but you'll see it at the very end when I flip through, but that is a Dutch door there. And then at the top, I left a lot of room to create my header, which has the torn pages as its backdrop. I did create a little banner off camera before I started filming this because I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work out, so I wanted to do it off camera. But I created a little banner, which you see here. You can do whatever you want for that, but I just titled this spread New Releases, and I'm really happy with how this turned out, and it just gives me room throughout the year to add those. And here is a little flip through of what I created today. Be sure to check out the corresponding blog post, which includes a printable in the description box below, linked there. I can't wait to see your 2024 reading journal setups. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.